Hello and welcome to week 3 of the NJCAA Central District Hoops Report. I'm your host, Justin Griffiths, and as we break down the Central District slate of games last week and preview this week's slate of games as we move closer to the Thanksgiving break, I can tell you that some of these teams have started to make a name for themselves. Others are still trying to find their identity, and one team this past week really surprised me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and review last week's slate of games, starting with the Saints of Shawnee. And the Saints took on Tennessee Prep to open up their week's slate of games on November 13th, where they won 107-55. And last week, I harped on the three-point shooting for the entire district. Well, Shawnee must have heard what I had to say because they shot 11 of 27 from behind the arc, good for 40.7%. Free throw wise, they were 8 of 12. And again, I don't know if that's all the stats coming in. If it is, that's a little concerning for 66.7%. It's just the low amount of free throws that they shot more than the percentage wise there. They rebounded 40 times, had 30 assists, and only committed 7 turnovers. Granted, this is against a prep team, and we really don't know what Shawnee has to say, really, but that 44 of 75 is very impressive at any level, good for 58.7% from the floor. Let's go ahead and talk about some of these team leading scores. They were led mainly by Ladricus Pittman here. He was 7 of 12 from the field and had 3 rebounds, 5 assists, good for 18 points. Johnny Anderson, again, another returner from last year's squad. He was 6 of 11 from the field while grabbing 7 defensive rebounds and having 16 points. Those two were the only two in double figures. Isaac Hossman was 4 of 6. He was efficient from the field, had 10 assists. He had 9 points, so just shy of a double-double there. Off the bench, Alan King, a player that we haven't seen in the first 2 weeks, was 7-11, good for 17 points, leading all Saints off the bench. Also, you had James Deloche, who was 6 of 6 from the field and had 7 rebounds himself. He finished with 12 points. And then you had Keshawn Washington, 4 of 5 from the field, 1 from 2 from behind the arc, dishing out 5 assists, finishing with 9 points. Those were the main contributors for the Saints. And again, as we get into this season, that's going to be huge. And then after the Tennessee Prep, they went ahead and they played Jefferson College, where they won 80-76 on November 16th. So let's go ahead and look at the team stats here. Thankfully, we have team stats for both of them, so we can kind of compare and contrast a little bit more here. 6 of 14 from behind the arc. Again, great for 42.9%, while Jefferson College was 11 of 30. This is what I saw a lot last week from the district as a whole. They shot a lot of threes and didn't make a whole lot. Now, granted, 36.7 is nothing to scoff at, but you're taking 30 threes and making 11 of them. And that's half of your shots from the field. They were 28 of 66, while Shawnee was 27 of 57, good for 47.4. Again, free throw percentage-wise, better around this time against Jefferson College. Again, only 2 years into their rebrand of NJCAA. Jefferson College was 9 of 15, good for 60% from the foul line. Turnover battle-wise, Shawnee lost this 11-10. But they out-rebounded Jefferson 35-33. So it was really, really close. And you see that in the scoring column here. Shawnee actually trailed at the end of the first half, 35-32, and were able to step it up in the second half, 48-41. Let's go ahead and see the leaders for that. And it was just like against Tennessee Prep. Ladricus Pittman led the way for the Saints, 8 of 13 from the field. 9 of 12 from the foul line, having 8 rebounds to go along with 8 assists, finishing with a team-high 28 points. Johnny Anderson didn't shoot the ball quite as well, but he was good for 8 of 20 from the field and 4 of 5 from the foul line, had 4 rebounds defensively, good for 8 rebounds total. He finished with 20 points as well. Bench-wise, they didn't get that whole bench up that they needed later on in the season. James Deloche led the way, 4 of 6 from the field, good for 9 points. Keshawn Washington had 5 points, and Alan King had 3. For Jefferson College, they were led by Gabe Watkins. He was 7 of 10 from the field, 4 of 7 from behind the arc, had 3 rebounds, 5 assists, finishing with 20 points. Nick Davis was 5 of 17. Again, Davis kind of canceled out Anderson here, shooting wise. 5 of 17 from the field, 0 of 3 from behind the arc, had 8 rebounds to go along with 10 points. Cade Harmon was 4 of 10 from the field, 2 of 8 from behind the arc. And you can see the similarities from last week to this week for Jefferson College. And he finished with 10 points. Not shooting really well from behind the arc and taking a lot of shots. I mean, that's going to kill you with those long rebounds. Now, granted, like I said, Shawnee only won the rebounding battle by 2, but later on in the season for Jefferson College, that's going to hurt you. And in the district as a whole, a district that prides themselves on rebounding the ball, if you shoot poorly from behind the arc as a district team, like a Shawnee or Vincennes or someone like that, you're going to lose a ball game. Isaiah Young did lead Jefferson off the bench, 4 of 11 shooting, good for 11 points. But he was really the only one off the bench. You had Sam Alutu, was 2 of 2 from the field for 7 points. But other than that, yeah, Jefferson College really didn't get things started in the second half, and that's what cost them this ball game. Again, Shawnee wins this 80-76, and the Saints go for 2-0 on the week. Up next are the Lakeland Lakers, and they took overtime to beat Glen Oaks 112-106 on November 16th, this past Saturday at Mattoon. And again, love having 2 teams of stats, although the turnovers here, I'm not going to pay attention to the turnover battle because there's no way that's right. Lakeland was 34 of 75 from the field, good for 45.3. 13 of 29. Again, if you're shooting 29 threes, you better be making at least 40% of them. And Lakeland did in this one. 31 for 38 free throw wise, good for 81.6. 38 to 39 rebounding battle. So they were out rebounded by 1. Glen Oaks, on the other hand, they were 39 of 74, good for 52.7%. So both teams were lining it up from the field. 3-point wise, 15 of 24, good for a whopping white hot 62.5%. It was really the free throw battle here. 38 for Lakeland, 19 for Glen Oaks. That was the difference. Let's go ahead and look at some individual box scores, starting with the Vikings of Glen Oaks. And all 5 starters and their bench were in double figures. They were led by Darius Roush, who was 5 of 13 from the field, 4 of 6 from behind the arc, good for 18 points. He did have 7 turnovers, however. Again, that might be a little bit skewed just because Lakeland had no turnovers in a 45-minute game. I highly doubt that. He had 7 assists, though. And then Aaron Murphy Jr., Amari Moore, Aiken Smith all had 15 points, shooting 5 of 7, 7 of 13, and 6 of 11, respectively, from the field. And Humphrey had 5 assists with 12 rebounds. Smith had 2 assists, 4 rebounds, and Moore had 5 rebounds. The last player in double figures was Mike Phelps. He was 5 of 8 from the field, good for 14 points, had 5 assists. So Glen Oaks had all 5 stars in double figures. That is huge going into their district play if they can keep that up. And then you get bench support here. And again, for teams in the district, bench support is going to be huge. So there's no wonder this game went into overtime just by looking at Glen Oaks here. Terrace Ball led the way, 4 of 8 shooting, good for 10 points. And then Will Jameson was 3 of 4 shooting, good for 10 points. And Nate Keel, he was 4 of 6 for 9. 29 points off the bench. And you relied heavily on your starters. That is impressive for Glen Oaks. For Lakeland, on the other hand, you had 4 starters in double figures, and 3 of them with over 20 points, led by Peyton Weimer, who was 6 of 10 from the field, 10 for 11 from the foul line, good for 25 points. It was also 3 of 5 from behind the arc. And again, rebounding-wise, he had 6 rebounds. Then you had Stevie Tatum, who was 5 of 13 with 4 rebounds, good for 22 points. And Devin Woods, 8 of 14 from the field, had 8 assists with 3 rebounds, good for 22 points. Not to be outdone by those three, Johnny Jones had an impressive night as well. He was 4 of 9 from the field, all from behind the arc, good for 16 points. He had 4 defensive rebounds and 2 assists, or 1 assist, 2 steals. Off the bench again, Coach Larry got some support led by Joshua Bryant, who was 5 of 9 from the field, good for 10 points. Sean Dekonovich, not another great shooting night for him. 4 of 11 for 9. And then Denham Leslie was 2 of 2 from the foul line for his 2 points. Again, overtime took into effect, and Josh Bryant fouled out with 10 points. So, again, off the bench, fouling out, not great, but you led your team in rebounding. So, it's one of those catch-22 type things. Going to be very interesting to see how Lakeland is able to continue this. Again, a tough battle for the Lakers, and they were able to pull out a huge victory in non-conference play, and it gets them better for next week. The next team up is going to be the Wabash Valley Warriors, who, again, on the 13th, took on SEMO Prep and were able to handle them 105 to 78. And again, just looking over the stats, Wabash Valley 34 of 71, good for 47% from the floor. 12 of 26, good for 46% from behind the arc. Had 38 rebounds, 20 assists, and 17 turnovers. Not a whole lot to break down there because of SEMO being a prep school and not affiliated with the NJCAA, so doesn't add in their stats there. But looking at the Warriors, they were led by Jameel Barber, who was 4 of 8 from the field, 7 of 8 from the foul line, had 7 rebounds to go along with his 16 points. And Cole Forlow was 4 of 9 from the field, good for 5 of 8 from the foul line, had 5 rebounds and 14 points as well. Muja Burton off the bench, his still being a beast here. 6 of 8 from the field, 2 of 2 from behind the arc, had 5 rebounds to go along with his 17 points. And Sherrod Dent Jr. Was 7 of 11 from the field, 5 of 6 from behind the arc, and had 21 points. Oh, my goodness. Again, playing for the first time this year or contributing mostly this year for the Warriors and putting up 21 points. Again, yes, it's a prep team, so take that with a grain of salt. But, again, a chemistry-building win for the Warriors. As we look at their other game this week, going back, and it was a rematch from their first game of the year, where they won 78-72. This time they won 78-59 at Moran Valley. Let's go ahead and look at the team stats from here. And again, kind of similarity to what we saw in their prep game win. 30 of 68 for the Warriors compared to 18 of 53 for Moran Valley. 9 of 24 from behind the arc. And again, 37.5. So you're in the high 30s. I would want that a little bit higher percentage-wise. So maybe 10 or 11 out of 24. But still shooting the ball well from behind the arc. Moran Valley, 5 of 20, good for 25%. And again, if you're taking 20 shots, you got to be making more than 5 of them. Free throw line, Moran won that battle, 18 makes compared to 9 makes, 15 shots total. So Moran Valley made more free throws than Wabash took. However, again, I always say the rebounding battle and the turnover battle is key, and Wabash won both of these. Won the turnover battle 18-20 and out rebounded Moran Valley 41-32. They even won the assist battle 14-8. But that is more being able to execute what you can do offensively more than anything else. Leading scores for the Warriors. Nobody as a starter. Daniel Robinson led the way with 9 points as a starter, and Jameel Barber was 2 of 4 from the field. Robinson 3 of 7, 2 of 4 from behind the arc. But nobody in double digits for a starter for um, Coach McGee. That is interesting. Everything came off the bench then because as I'm looking at it, again, Muja Burton having another huge game, 6 of 13, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, had 4 rebounds and 3 steals. He led the whole team with 15 points. Kevin Anthony led the way as well with 5 of 8 shooting, good for 13 points and having 6 defensive rebounds, 8 rebounds total. And then Dent Jr. finishing out in double digits, 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from behind the arc, finishing with 10 points. And again, 5 rebounds for him as well. And again, Coach McGee and the Warriors able to beat Moran Valley. So they watched good film. They led 41-32 at the half and extended that more in the second half, winning that second half 37-27. And really, when you look at these types of stats, it's no surprise that they were able to pull out a huge win. And again, Coach McGee is getting his Warriors set up and ready to go for the district play that is to be played here at the beginning of December. Up next is the John A. Logan Volunteers, and they had a couple of District 4 opponents to battle this weekend. Starting on September 15th, they took on Sauk Valley, and they were able to pull out an 87-80 or to 74 victory here. And again, Logan shot 31 of 73 from the floor, good for 42.5%. And again, like I said in the Shawnee recap and the Lakeland recap, I want you guys, if you're going to shoot 33s, I want you over 40%. Logan was able to do that at 44.8 off of a 13 of 29 shooting performance. Again, not a lot of free throws shot in this whole game. Sauk Valley shot 19. Logan shot 15, netting 12 of them. The rebounding battle favored the Vols, as did the turnover battle at 9-17. And you can see here what I'm talking about. And this is why I love NJCAA.org. When you're able to get both teams' stats up here, you can see how much of a difference this turned out to be. So everything else is really tight, but then you see the rebounding and the turnovers. And you can see why Logan was able to pull out a 13-point victory here. Again, this was held at Triton College. So neutral floor win for the Vols against a tough district or Region 4 opponent. They were led by Julian Norris Jr., 5 of 7 shooting from the field, 3 of 4 from behind the arc, good for 15 points. DeVaries Lowry was 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from behind the arc, having two rebounds, 2 assists, and a blocked shot, finishing with 10. And Caden Hawkins was 4 of 8 from the field, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, finishing with 11 points as well. Off the bench for the Vols, they were led by Taylor Smith, 8 of 16 from the field, shooting 500 or 50% from the field, 50% from behind the arc, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, having 3 rebounds go along with 20 points. Xavier Zubrick was 4 of 10 from the field, good for 10 points. He fouled out in the game, unfortunately, but not before grabbing 6 rebounds. Also, Deneko Rucker was 4 of 9 from the field, 2 of 4 from behind the arc, having 2 rebounds go along with 4 assists and 10 points for the Vols. Sauk Valley was led by Chan Malith, who was 8 of 17 from the field, 4 of 7 from behind the arc, finishing with 4 rebounds and 26 points. Rico Yarborough was 8 of 12 from the field, grabbing 6 rebounds and 18 points. Those were the only 2 Sauk Valley players in double figures, and really they got no bench help, minus Bryce Coleman, who was 5 of 11 from the field, having 4 defensive rebounds, 6 total, finishing with 10 points. So Coach Smith-Peters and the Vols were able to silence Sauk Valley. However, in their game the following day against host school Triton, they were not so lucky. They fall to the Trojans 84-62 and really never had a shot in this game. Triton led 40-27 at the break and extended that by 9 afterwards. Logan, as a team, shot 24 of 73 compared to Triton's 33 of 68. And you see that there. When games aren't close, you can really see it in the field goal percentage. It's when games are close that you look at everything else. Because turnover battles, both teams only turn the ball over 7 times, if that's accurate. And again, sometimes NJCAA is not accurate, but I'll go with it. And Triton out-rebounded Logan 44-40. So if both teams are taking care of the ball and the rebounding battle is not that bad, you got to look at shooting-wise. 3-point shooting in particular, Logan was 4-17 from behind the arc, good for a measly 23.5. However, that was still better than Triton's 4 of 20 from the field, a pitiful 20%. Triton was able to get it done inside the paint, though. For the Vols, you were led by Devarius Lowry, 8 of 19 from the field, 3 of 6 from the foul line, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, grabbing 12 rebounds to go along his team-high 21 points. However, no other starter was close besides Caden Hawkins, who was 3 of 12 from the field, finishing with 8 points. Off the bench as well, you didn't get a ton of help. DeCaro Payne was 4 of 8 from the field and grabbing 5 boards, finishing with 10 points. And Xavier Zubrick, 4 of 6 from the field, the most efficient Vol, finishing with 8. However, for Triton, you were led by VJ Wallace, 11 of 17 from the field, 3 of 4 from the foul line, and grabbing 10 rebounds to go along with his 25 points. Dejon Anderson, 8 of 18 from the field, grabbing 6 rebounds as well, along with 3 assists, finishing with 18 points. Brandon Sinclair, another Trojan in double figures, 5 of 9 from the field, 7 rebounds and 12 points, along with Caden Space, 4 of 8 from the field, and having 6 assists to go along with his 11 points. On top of that, you had Chase Coleman coming off the bench for the Trojans, 4 of 8 from the field, finishing with 11 points. And again, Triton led this one from tip-off to final horn. Logan really wasn't in this game too much. Again, that pitiful first half performance, and then Triton was able to just extend on it even more for this 22-point loss for the Volunteers. Triton did lose earlier in the week and did fall in the latest rankings. So that was good for them. A statement win for Triton. And I know we'll see the Trojans later on in the year for a couple different district teams. But yeah, so Logan goes 1 for 2 in the Triton Classic. And looking forward to their sled games this week. Up next are the Vincennes Blazers, where they took on, at the time, number 20, Henry Ford College, D2 NJCAA. Vincennes fell to number 21 in the rankings, and then are still at 21 after the recording of this video. But Vincennes was able to pull out an 88-77 win over the Hawks of Henry Ford. Shooting-wise, Vincennes was 32 of 69, good for 46.4%, while Henry Ford was 29 of 70, good for 41.4%. From behind the arc, Vincennes only took 14 threes, made 5 of them, good for 35.7, while Henry Ford took 25 threes and made 8, good for 32%. Free throw-wise, Vincennes shot 10 more of them and made 8. They shot 19 of 27, while Henry Ford was 11 of 17. The rebounding battle, Vincennes won this handily 29-47 in favor of the Blazers, but they lose the turnover battle 9-15. So again, as we look over at the field goal percentage and charts, close here, 5% in favor of Vincennes, 3% in favor of Vincennes from behind the arc. Rebounding battle, you can see the gap here. And again, unfortunately for the Blazers, you see the gap here in the turnovers. Let's go ahead and look at some individual scores, starting with the Henry Ford team, led by Amari Allen. He was 8 of 17 from the field, 4 of 4 from the foul line, had 8 rebounds to go along with 3 assists and 3 steals, finishing with 22 points. Devin Smith Johnson was 500 from the field, 6 of 12, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, grabbing 8 rebounds and finishing with 17 points. And Gerald Doughton Jr., or the third, was 4 of 9 from the field and was 3 of 5 from behind the arc. He finished with 11 points for the Hawks. The Hawks really didn't get a whole lot in terms of bench play. They were able to get Donald Wilburn and Brian Everhart, each finished with 6 points apiece. For the Blazers, you were led by Michael Cooper, who was 7 of 12 from the field, 5 of 6 from the foul line, had 9 rebounds, finishing with 20 points. Jalen Calloway was another player in double figures, 5 of 9 shooting, 2 of 3 from behind the arc, 7 rebounds, good for 15 points. All-American LeBron Thomas, not his best shooting night, but he was able to get it done from the free throw line. He was 4 of 14 shooting, 10 of 14 from the line, though, grabbing 6 rebounds, having 5 assists, and only 1 turnover. That's huge for LeBron if he's going to be successful, limiting those turnovers, and he was able to do so against Henry Ford. He finished with 18 points. And Dayton Williams, the final Blazers starter in double figures, he was 8 of 15 from the field, grabbing 10 rebounds, finishing with 19 points. And for the Blazers, off the bench, they were led only by Kenaz Ogochukwu, and he was 5 of 6 from the field, finishing with 10 points for the Blazers. So, again, Vincennes wins this game by 11 against a Henry Ford team, Division II Henry Ford team, but a ranked Henry Ford team. So even when Vincennes has to play like a D2 opponent, it's a quality D2 opponent. But their biggest challenge of the year so far, besides Columbia State, was Malcolm X College. And actually, they handled this game pretty well, winning this 87-66. I know Coach Franklin was a little worried. Another Region 4 team coming down to play Vincennes. They got a couple of them scheduled this year, and Malcolm X is always a tough game for the Blazers. Vincennes was 29 of 54 from the field, good for 53%. They only shot 10 threes and made 3 of them, good for 30%. Free throw wise, they shot 38 free throws, netting 26, compared to Malcolm X, who was 21 of 68 from the field, and an abysmal 30.9%. 3-point wise, 7 of 28 from behind the arc for the Hawks. Again, abysmal 25%. Yes, I know 30% compared to 25% isn't a lot, but Vincennes took 18 less threes to get to that 30% compared to Malcolm X's shooting 28 threes and only netting 7 of them. And they didn't really get to the line either, 17 of 21, so they did shoot better percentage-wise from the foul line for Malcolm X compared to Vincennes. But again here, the rebounding battle and the turnover battle kind of cancel each other out. Vincennes, very sloppy with the ball in this game. 27 turnovers compared to Malcolm X's 11. But rebounding-wise, 47 rebounds for the Blazers compared to 25 for the Hawks. So that kind of evens each other out. And again, at that point, you just look at field goal percentage, and you see a big change here, 23 point difference in that. And again, 5% from the 3-point arc in favor of the Blazers. But again, really, really sloppy as a team in the turnover category. Let's go ahead and look at individual scores. First, for the Hawks, they were led by Jelani Johnson, who was 6 of 22 from the field, 1 of 8 from behind the arc, but he was 9 of 11 from the free throw line. He had 3 rebounds and finished with a game-high 22 points. Colin Woods was 4 of 11 from the field, 1 of 4 from behind the arc for the Hawks as well. He had 4 steals and finished with 15 points. However, once again, no other player was in double figures. Kevin McGee off the bench for the Hawks were close with 3 of 8 shooting, 3 of 5 from behind the arc, and finishing with 9 points. Brandon Cromer was close as well. 3 of 8 shooting for 8 points for him. For the Blazers, they were once again led by Michael Cooper, who has really shown himself since the second game of the season. 5 of 8 from the field, 11 of 13 from the foul line, to go along with 3 rebounds and 3 assists and 6 steals. Team high 21 points. Dayton Williams, once again, 7 of 15 from the field, finishing with 15 points, making 1 3 and having 8 rebounds total. Unfortunately, no other LeBron did get in double figures, 2 of 6 shooting. Again, not a great shooting night for LeBron, but able to do it at the free throw line. Also grabbing 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 turnovers. For a team that had 21 turnovers or 27 turnovers, 3 is not that bad. So he finished with 11 points as well. No other player was in double figures for the Blazers. However, Brinson here was 3 of 6 from the field with 8 points off the bench. He led the bench. But other than that, nobody really impressed me too much. Brian Akanmu was 2 of 4, but he grabbed 10 rebounds. So he finished with 7 points. But again, that big defensive rebounding here for Akanmu and for Williams kept the Blazers in the way. Callaway also had 9 rebounds as well to go along with his 9 points. So Vincennes able to pick up a couple big wins. They got a difficult schedule coming up, but we will discuss that once we get to the preview section. Up next, the Lincoln Trail Statesmen. Up next are the Lincoln Trail Statesmen, and boy, when I said there was a team that shocked me this week, it was the Statesmen, as they beat Three Rivers 69-61 in overtime. And like I said in that preview episode last week, I didn't think it would happen. But this shows me that Lincoln Trail might actually be for real. They start the season 4-0. Shooting-wise, the Statesmen were 24 of 63. Three Rivers with 20 of 63. Again, not great from behind the arc from either team. The entire game, Lincoln Trail was 1 of 11 for 9%. Three Rivers was 5 of 25 for 20%, not much better. Free throw line wise, Lincoln Trail was 20 of 25. Three Rivers was 16 of 21. The rebounding battle, the Statesmen got absolutely clobbered in the rebounding battle, 49-28. But they countered by only turning the ball over 10 times compared to Three Rivers 22 times. So that's why this game was so close. Again, you look at it, Three Rivers shooting about 7% less than Lincoln Trail, but God, that 9% from behind the arc, my goodness. But the Statesmen are able to hand the Three Rivers their second loss of the year. Let's go ahead and talk about the leading scores for the Raiders of Three Rivers, starting with Matt Hampton, 5 of 14 from the field, 6 of 9 from the foul stripe, 8 rebounds to go along with 17 points. Demetrius White was 3 of 9 from the field, 4 of 4 from the stripe, having 6 rebounds and finishing with 10 points. Robert Alexander was 5 of 12 from the field, having 4 rebounds and 11 points for the Raiders. and they get no bench help besides Cole Nichols, who was 2 or 3 from the field and finishing with 7 points. Everybody else had 2 points, 4 points, or did not score in the game, and that is huge. Leon Wesson fouled out in this ball game, but for the Statesmen, you look at it. Ronnie Ellis and Ty Williams each had 18 points. Williams was 4 of 11 from the field, 10 of 12 from the foul line, grabbing 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and forcing 4 steals to go with his 18 points. Gable Morgie, 4 of 14 from the field, finishing with 10, but grabbing 9 rebounds as well. And then you have Ronnie Ellis, 7 of 13 from the field, 18 points overall, 1 of 5. He made the lone 3-pointer for the Statesmen. And grabbed 2 rebounds, had 2 assists, finishing with 18 points. Off the bench, they got a little bit better. Marlon Bennett finished with 6 points off 3 of 4 shooting. And Jarrett Jackson was 2 of 3 from the field, 3 of 4 from the foul line, finishing with 7 points. And again, this game went into overtime, and the Statesmen able to shock me and make me a little bit more of a believer as they beat Three Rivers 69-61 in overtime. Well, Olney Central was supposed to take on Indiana Elite Prep on Tuesday, November 12th, but unfortunately that game got canceled. So their only game of the week was Saturday, the 16th against Wilbur Wright, and they fall to the Rams 93-97. And unfortunately, Wilbur Wright has no stats on this game. Another Region 4 opponent that Region 24 has to take on. Olney Central from the field was 37 of 59, 7 of 14 from behind the arc, and 13 of 21 free throw wise, having 38 rebounds and 20 turnovers. If I were to have to guess, I would say Wilbur Wright had less turnovers, probably around the same rebounding, and shot it about the same. I mean, this game was incredibly close. Olney led 49-47 at the half, but Wilbur Wright was able to defend their home floor and pull out the victory. Leading the way for the Blue Knights was a couple of different players. Avion Morris, who was 7-11 from the field, 6 of 7 from the foul line, 4 of 5 from behind the arc, having 5 assists to go along with 3 rebounds, finishing with 24 points, along with Devion Famakadahide, was 11 of 15 from the field, grabbing 9 rebounds and finishing with 24 points. And Javon Jones finishing 9 of 13 from the field, having 10 rebounds and 20 points for Coach Levina and the Blue Knights. Unfortunately, again, nobody scores in double figures off the bench for Coach Levina, but you have 4 players in double figures, the last one being Jaleel Bethay, 6 of 11 from the field, 2 of 5 from the foul line, 1 of 2 from behind the arc, 5 rebounds to go along with 3 assists and 15 points. But again, in this league, if you don't have bench help, you can't win many games. And it was proven against Wilbur Wright. Again, led by 2 at the half, and then gets outscored by 6 in the second half. Another close loss for Coach Levina in his first full season as the coach. And again, Wilbur Wright just doesn't have anything. I actually didn't know the score of this game until about 1 o'clock Eastern time. And as you see, this is from Dave Hunter here. I was able to copy it into a Word document. And you see that he has that Wilbur Wright defeated Olney Central. No score reported. And that was the way it was for a long time. So not able to get a score for a lot of it, but able to pull out stats, thankfully, here. And again, another close loss for Olney. Up next is the Kaskaskia Blue Devils as they took on Simmons College, and they won handily 99-48. Again, no stats for Simmons, unfortunately, because they're not an NJCAA affiliate. But Kaskaskia, on the other hand, we have they shot 41 of 76 for 53.9% from the field, 5 of 21%, and again, an abysmal 23.8% from behind the arc. Again, if you're going to take 23s, you got to make at least 40% of them. Kaskaskia. Free throw wise, they were 12 of 17, so they didn't get to the line a whole lot. They were able to grab 46 rebounds and have only 13 turnovers. So let's go ahead and look at Kaskaskia's leading scores. They had 3 starters in double figures, led by Jamal Chalmers, who was 7 of 12 from the field, 6 of 6 from the foul line, having 4 rebounds, 6 assists to go along with 6 steals, and having 20 points. Miles Liddell was 7 of 14 from the field, having 5 offensive rebounds, 9 rebounds total, grabbing 4 steals and finishing with 15 points. And Kobe Wilmoth, 5 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from behind the arc, grabbing 8 rebounds and finishing with 13 points for the starters. Coach Hancock was able to pick up a couple of players off the bench that were close to getting into double figures. First was Terrell Galbraith. It was 4 of 8 shooting, 1 of 4 from behind the arc. Grabbed a rebound, had 3 assists and 3 steals to go along with 9 points. And finally, Jared Mackey was 4 of 6 from the field, finishing with 9 points and grabbing a rebound as well. He did commit 2 fouls. But again, 4 of 6 from the field for Mackey. And again, a big win for Kaskaskia, picking up that win against Simmons College. And then they went ahead and they played NAIA Oakland City University JV team, and they were able to win this ballgame 95-58. Again, NAIA is not required to post stats for JV on NJCAA's website. Kaskaskia was 39 of 89 shooting for 43.8%. Shot it a little bit better from behind the arc, 6 of 18. Again, if you're going to take at least 15 threes, I want to see you make at least 40% of them. Good for 33%. Free throw wise, 11 of 15. 62 rebounds to go along with 15 turnovers. And again, you can see that Kaskaskia led 42-29 at the end of the first half and then expanded upon it, 53-29 in the second half. So let's go ahead and look at Kaskaskia's scores. Again, 4 players this time in double figures for Coach Hancock. Starter-wise, led by Jamal Chambers, 10 of 21 shooting, grabbing 3 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals, finishing with a team high 22 points. Markel Newsom was 6 of 13 from the field, grabbing 5 defensive rebounds out of his 8 rebounds total, had 5 assists to go along with it, and he finished with 17 points. Miles Liddell was 5 of 12 again this week, grabbed 9 rebounds to go along with 10 points. And Kobe Wilmont, again, finishing with 10 points, 3 of 12 shooting, so didn't shoot it quite as well this week. He did grab 5 rebounds, however. Dallas Harding Fair, he was 2 of 5, finishing with 4 points. But the reason I bring him up is he had a team high in rebounds, 11. Terrence Hall, also 5 points off the bench for the Blue Devils, but he finished 3 of 8 shooting. Or, excuse me, that's Mackey, who had 6 points. Hall had 10 rebounds, and again, that's why I bring him up. He finished with 5 points off 2 of 4 shooting. And Terrell Galbraith was 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 4 from behind the arc. He finished with 12 points off the bench for Coach Hancock and the Kaskaskia Blue Devils. Again, JV team, a great team win, but it's hard to really evaluate a team like this when just because of the level of competition. It's going to be interesting to see what they do once we hit district play. And the last team to go over are the Southwestern Illinois Blue Storm. Swick took on SEMO Prep in their only game this week and beat them in overtime 91-86. And Swick shot 35 of 89 from the field, and 7 of 28 from behind the arc, good for 25%. Again, if you're going to take 28 shots from behind the arc, uh, I would want to see at least 40% there. They did not shoot the free throw well at all, 50% at 14 of 28. Grabbed 49 rebounds, but had 22 turnovers. So that's probably why this game went into overtime, to be completely honest. SEMO prep we saw earlier in the video. And Swig led by 8 points at the half and let off the gas a little bit. Able to recover in overtime to pull out the 5-point victory. But let's go ahead and look at some Blue Storm scores from this ball game. Again, the lone game of the year or lone game of the week for the Blue Storm, led by Dylan Craven. He was 3 of 4 from the field, 4 of 5 from the foul line. And again, when you shoot 14 of 28, yes, I'm going to highlight the person who is 4 or 5 from the foul line. He had 9 assists as well. He finished with 10 points. Giulio Regato was 3 of 7 from the field. He had 8 rebounds to go along with his 7 points. Lee Williams had 8 points, 4 of 12 shooting. But Nick Horace had 9 points off of a 4 of 11 shooting night, grabbing 5 rebounds, having 6 assists and 4 steals to go along with 5 turnovers. Off the bench, they were led by Matthew Kerpru LZ, who was 7 of 19 shooting, had 10 offensive rebounds out of his 15 total rebounds, had 5 steals as well. He finished with a team-high 17 points, one of the only bright spots for Swick in this one. Jamori Weisinger was 3 of 9 from the field, 1 of 6 from behind the arc. And again, 4 of 5 from the foul stripe. And I'm going to mention it because, again, you were 14 of 28 from the foul stripe. So I'm going to give kudos to the players that make their free throws. He finished with 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 11 points as well. Ayob Daniel was 2 of 6 from the field, but he grabbed 7 rebounds, finishing with 4 points for Swick. Again, a SEMO prep team that we saw earlier in the video. And Swick was, Swick is still going to be that question mark team for me until they can, get a big time win. They had a couple chances with Moberly in West Plains and weren't able to do it last couple weeks. They got a big game here against Lewis and Clark coming up, but I will get to them later on while I preview the rest of the district. All right, so we finished with the recapping. Let's go ahead and preview this week's slate of games, starting for the Lakeland Lakers. They have one game on tap this week, and actually, when this video goes up, that game will be final. They travel to Lincoln Land to take on the Loggers. It is a rematch from opening night where Lakeland was able to win 84-62. I'll say this. I'm recording this at 7:07 p.m. Monday night. The tip-off is for 8:30 Eastern. So knowing nothing going into this ballgame, I still think the Lakers are going to pull out a win against the Loggers. I think it's going to be a lot like opening night for Lakeland. They're going to be able to run the floor, and they're able to kind of control the boards a little bit more than they were, 2 weeks ago. Also, the fact that they had only 7 turnovers in the game, I don't look for that to happen again, but I do look for them to control the boards a little bit better. They finished with 38 boards on opening night. I look for them to get like 40 tonight. But yeah, I have Lincoln or Lakeland beating Lincoln Land tonight. And when you listen to this, let me know down in the comments if I'm right or not, because This will go up at 10 a.m. the following day. So I won't know going forward. And we actually do have another game like this with Kaskaskia. They're playing tonight as well on 8 o'clock Eastern. So I won't know that game, but I will cover it a little bit. But yeah, one game for the Lakers, and it's against the Loggers of Lincoln Land. And yeah, my guess is that Lakeland's able to win. Up next is the Wabash Valley Warriors. They got two huge games up this week, kicking it off with Indian Hills Community College in Mount Carmel, Wednesday, November 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time tip off for that one. So go on to Wabash Valley's YouTube page. Hopefully, they'll be streaming that game. It is in Mount Carmel, and they normally do stream their home games. This one's going to be a big test for Coach McGee and the Warriors. Uh, Indian Hills is no joke out of a Region 11 in Ottumwa, Iowa. Uh, it's going to be a grindy game for Warriors. Um, and I don't think they'll win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Coach McGee's able to pull out a big win here. If it is, that's going to lead them into a ton of momentum heading into going to Mineral Area College again. Mineral Area, we've seen them a couple different times in this region, and actually, this is a rematch game from earlier in the year where Mineral Area was able to beat Wabash Valley 65-43. So look for Coach McGee and his team to look at film from November 6th and see where they went wrong, and being able to play on the 23rd here. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern Time tip off for that one at Mineral Area. I don't know if Mineral Area streams their games or not. Hopefully they do. But yeah, two big games for Wabash Valley coming into the Thanksgiving break. And it's going to be interesting to see what they're able to do. If they're able to come out with two huge wins, they're going to be extremely dangerous heading into district play. That's all I got to say. Indian Hills is always a tough victory, whether that's at home or on the road. Mineral Area has been a region killer in the last couple of years. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Coach McGee is able to take these two games on. I do commemorate him for scheduling these games. Getting tough opponents is always hard, especially when it's outside of your traveling area. And Indian Hills, again, coming in from Iowa, is definitely that. So big hats off to Coach McGee for able to get this game. And again, Indian Hills, I don't see that. I think they'll have a better chance against Mineral Area, to be completely honest with you. But if they're able to pull off two huge wins and go into their Thanksgiving tournament at 7-2, that's amazing. Up that we're going to be taking a look at is the Shawnee Saints. And boy, when I said that Wabash had a tough schedule this week, copy and paste that for the Saints. They open up in Carterville at the Logan Invitational on Friday, November 22nd at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central tip-off time there. They take on Triton. Triton, a ranked team coming into this week. They fell a little bit, but they are looking to bounce back. I mean, they had a great game against Logan last week. It's going to be another good slate of games for Triton coming up. And again, for Coach Sparks here, it is a good barometer test for him with two difficult games. Really, their only difficult game this year was Coffeyville, and they lost that game by 6-8 on November 2nd. So this is a very good barometer test for them because not only do they face Triton in Carterville, on November 23rd, we see the aforementioned Indian Hills that we just talked about for Wabash Valley. They are in Carterville for the Logan Invitational as well. So tough slate for Coach Sparks. But again, if you're able to split the weekend, I think that is a huge win for you. Um, and then going into uh, the week of Thanksgiving, you feel a lot better with your where your team's at compared to going in at 500. Again, it's going to be an interesting week for you. You got Triton and then you got Indian Hills. Both teams were at Hutch last year. So definitely where you want to be going in. It's just how your team stacks up. And if you play like you did against Coffeeville, both these games are going to be really, really close. Um, and I think if you're close but still lose, you feel good about that. But the worst thing that you can do is get blown out both nights. And that is a possibility, but I don't see it happening. I think you win, or I don't know if you win a game here, but I think you keep both of these relatively close and heading into Thanksgiving week. You feel really good about where your team's at, especially where you got a couple of more difficult opponents before you take on the district on December 11th. Sticking in Carterville, let's go ahead and talk about the Logan Volunteers and their slate of games this week. They got three really big games. We know of Triton and Indian Hills over the weekend. But before that, they take on Mineral Area College at Mineral Area on Wednesday, November 20th, 7 p.m. Central Time, tip off there. And then you got to face Indian Hills Friday night, 7 p.m. Central Time tip. And then Triton, a 3 p.m. Eastern Time tip on Saturday. So, three big games for Coach Smith Peters and the Logan Volunteers. Triton is going to be like a mini revenge game there. Losing by 22 this week really stings. I think if you're able to take 2 out of 3 here for Coach Smith Peters, you're looking at the Thanksgiving break smiling. Mineral Area's a rematch game from the first game of the season, where you were able to win this game handily 70-47. So both teams have tape on each other. That's going to be an interesting game on Wednesday, and it's at Mineral Area. So Logan doesn't even get to play Mineral Area on their home floor this year. The first game was at Three Rivers, and now this game is in Mineral Area. So going to be very interesting to see how Coach Smith Peters and them are able to pull off this 3 games in 6 days. And it's a Wednesday, Friday, Saturday slate. Like I said, Mineral Area, 7 p.m. Central Time tip at Mineral Area. Again, I don't know if they stream those. I know that Logan will be streaming this classic, at least their games. Indian Hills at 7 p.m. Central Time and Triton at 3 p.m. Central Time. Both of those should be on the Logan YouTube channel. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I think if you split the weekend and pick up another one against Mineral Area, if you're Coach Smith Peters, you go into Tuesday's game against Kankakee at 5-3. You're smiling and you're looking forward to Thanksgiving. But it's going to be a tough way to get 2 out of 3 here. No easy task again. I applaud Coach Smith Peters for this gauntlet that he has put out for himself before district play. And that makes Logan a very sneaky team if they come in to district play at 500, because that's a tough way to come into 500. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this weekend turns out for them. Up next is the surprise team of the week, the Lincoln Trail Statesmen. This week they got 2 games, and it's actually 2 really tough games. You take on Danville Area Community College up there in D2 NJCAA. Danville Area, the host of that national tournament. So the Jaguars are no joke. They always are a tough opponent. And then you take on Kankakee Community College, another Region 4 team for this district. Kankakee, again, historically very competitive. It's going to give you some trouble. It's going to be very interesting to see this high of Three Rivers, how long that stays with them because you got a week between that Three Rivers win and the Danville win or the Danville game. That game is played tomorrow or tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time tip off for that one. And then Kankakee is played Saturday, November 23rd, 3 p.m. Central Time tip off for that one. Both these games completely winnable for Lincoln Trail, or they could lose these games. It's going to be one or the other. If they split this week, like I said, the other one, if you split heading into Thanksgiving, you're feeling really, really good about yourself before you got to take on Southeastern on Black Friday. Um, it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be very interesting to see how they do. The sixth team that we're going to be covering is the Vincennes Trailblazers, and they got a couple tough games coming up here. Kankakee Community College, another Region 4 team that they play. That you just had Malcolm X and Kennedy King and Daly, all Region 4 teams, and now you have Kankakee as well. That is tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off. You can listen to Dave Hunter on 91.1 WVUB. You can also watch it on their streaming site. If you go to the VU website, you're able to watch that live. So, going to be a very tough game for you against Kankakee. And then the road doesn't get any better because you got to take on Moberly area Saturday, November 23rd, 3 p.m. Eastern or 4 p.m. Eastern time tip off for that one. And Moberly is another one of those historical teams that are at Hutch every single year, or if not, they are on the cusp of getting to Hutch. You played them last year on their home floor around Thanksgiving, so you get them this year on your home floor right before Thanksgiving. It's going to be a very tough game for them. But if they're able to play the way I know Coach Franklin wants them to be playing and how they kind of turn the page in weeks 2 and 3, those 4 wins are looking huge here. Um, you'll be, I think it will be a good game for them. Again, Moberly is going to be, both these teams are going to try to force you to commit a lot of turnovers, and it's going to be on LeBron Thomas to make sure that he doesn't turn that ball over, and to make sure that he's able to find his team where he needs it or where they need to be without them turning the ball over as well. So, tough 2 games for Coach Franklin and the Blazers heading into their Thanksgiving break. Up next are the Only Central Blue Knights, and they got a tough game. 3 p.m. Central Time tip-off against Three Rivers Community College. Three Rivers, of course, coming off that loss against Lincoln Trail last week. Olney coming off of a loss against Wilbur Wright. I'll go. Coach Levina's 4 losses are by 3, 4, 2, and 4. I don't see them beating Three Rivers. Again, if this happens, I said this with Lincoln Trail. If you win, this is going to be the shock of the week. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. Yes, it's at your home, but I think Three Rivers comes in learning what they did wrong against Lincoln Trail. I think you're going to lose this by a possession or 2. I mean, all your losses have been really, really close. So it wouldn't completely surprise me if you pull out a victory. I just think this will be the surprise of the week. If Three Rivers goes down to you, just because, again, they're coming off of a loss last week against Lincoln Trail, and you're coming off a loss against Wilbur Wright. In all your losses have been within 2 possessions of each other. So if you pick up this win, great. You're looking at an amazing time before you have to take on Mineral Area. If not, it's going to be one of those weekends where you do a lot of film training because, again, Mineral Area always seems to be one of those teams that has this region's number. I know so far our Logan is able to beat them, but it's just one of those games where it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But Three Rivers this week, 3 p.m. Central Time tip-off. It will be streamed on Olney's YouTube page. Hopefully, I know they do stream a lot of their games on that YouTube page. So hopefully that's one of them. I know with the holiday it might be a little bit tough, but if it's there, it's going to be on Alney's page, 3 p.m. Central Time as they take on Three Rivers. Up next are the Swift Blue Storm, and they take on Lewis and Clark Community College. This used to be a district game when I was a manager for Vincennes, and it goes back to just a couple of years ago. They were Division One. They dropped down to Division Two, and it's at Lewis and Clark. So a short drive for Swick. And it's going to be one of those games where I think Swick's going to be able to pull out a win. Uh, they are going to be practicing very, very hard, especially after that close win against SEMO Prep in overtime last Saturday. That is going to be tonight on 7:30 Eastern time. I think Lewis and Clark still streams their games on their YouTube page. I'm not 100% sure since they've dropped down. Again, I do look for Swick to pull out a win here. They were able to handle Lewis and Clark each and every year that they were in the district. So I see no reason for that changing. And I see them having a good going into the break above or going into their game against Moberly on the 26th above 500 against Lewis and Clark. And again, I think Coach is just going to have them ready to go for this game, especially with that 5-point win over SEMO Prep, where they should have handled that game easily. So this is going to be a good bounce back win for them. Yeah, I see Swick beating Lewis and Clark in this one. And finally, we have the Kaskaskia Blue Devils. Like I said, they're taking on Missouri Baptist at Missouri Baptist tonight, o'clock, 7 p.m. Central Time tip-off. So I'm going to just think that they're going to pull out a victory here. Again, they won this game 104-63. So I see no reason for them to lose at Missouri Baptist. I think it will be a little bit closer just because last year when they played this home and home, it was a little bit closer for Kaskaskia than the second time around. And this is what's really interesting about how Kaskaskia schedules their teams. They'll face Missouri Baptist twice. They'll face Simmons twice and Southeastern Illinois twice. As a matter of fact, their next game this week is 2 p.m. Central Time against Oakland City University JV, a team that they just beat on Saturday. So, again, is this going to be the typical Coach Hancock team that the second time you play them, it's going to be closer? Or is this going to be a new type of Coach Hancock team where they're able to still dominate against teams, or at least be competitive against teams the second time around? It's going to be one of the two things. And really tonight is going to be the big key. And Thursday night as well. Thursday night's tip-off is a 5 p.m. Central Time tip-off against Simmons. And then Saturday is a 2 p.m. Central Time tip-off against Oakland City. Again, I think Kaskaskia wins all three of these games, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than it was when they hosted all three of these teams. So look for that. Again, Missouri Baptist will know when this episode goes live. So I'm probably make a note down in the comments about this game specifically and all the other Monday night games that I happen to be talking about as these go live. I'll know the results too. So I will post the scores down in the comments section below. But please also, this is why I talk about how hard it is for me to get a regular schedule out. It's Monday and they're already playing games. But I still had to wait until this afternoon to get some stats in. So that's what's really hard for me. Again, previewing these three games, I see Kaskaskia going in at 8-0 before they take on Southeastern Illinois the week after next. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Some of these games being played on Monday tonight as I record this just points out how hard it is for me to get a set schedule done. Once we hit December 11th and we hit district play, I'll be able to get these out on a more consistent schedule. Although I think I have settled for the Tuesdays before, but at least once we hit district play, you'll have a full day to listen to it before my stuff comes to be a little bit dated. But again, non-district games are always hard to determine because they can schedule it whenever. I hope that everybody has a safe and great Thanksgiving. This is going to be the last episode before Thanksgiving comes out. I'm not going to try to do one for some of these games during the break. It's just not going to be feasible. I'm going to be with family. I hope you're with family. I hope you eat a lot of turkey and enjoy time with your family and all that stuff. And I will see you guys, if not next week, the week after next, and we'll tackle the last couple of games before we hit district play. Peace.